my fellow patriots. This is tplmedia.ca/local. And today we're asking the question, is Atlantic Canada facing a construction problem or is it facing a policy problem? And today I had to bring on Paul McCucci because, Paul, I know you've done billions of dollars in construction.
Yeah, I have. And done most of it actually in central Canada.
Yep.
But done a little bit down east, some out west. Been to Mexico, spent 12 years in the United States building things. So been around the block.
So you have a rough idea of why these Atlantic Canada construction problems could be arising.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And they're not just in Atlantic Canada, they're everywhere, right? So we see the similar symptoms, whether on the West Coast, whether it's Central Canada and the East Coast. The market, per se, is slow, more so in Central Canada from a real estate perspective.
Okay.
But quite frankly, getting any project off the ground anywhere in Canada is a challenge.
Well, then that leads me to my first question. Why is everything taking so long to build here?
Permitting. We're just buried in permitting issues in Canada right now. We've tried and we've talked about fast tracking our permitting and getting projects to market, but it just doesn't happen here.
So why do you think our red tape is so thick with this stuff?
Ooh, red tape. I think it's a cultural thing, right? We got mirrored in, and we need safety protocols. We need engineering protocols. We need those. But we don't want to actually go municipality by municipality and make them consistent. So what would stop us from doing one nationwide set of building code rules and regulations? Nothing. But yet we don't do it, right? So we each and every municipality has a different group that decides the bylaws, the regulations, the permitting, all those things. And that's why we get mirrored from city to city, from province to province.
So if I go to a city like, let's just say something like Cambridge, Ontario, where all the parking lots for these big block stores are developed horribly, like you got to drive around the building 3 times just to get out of the parking lot. Yes. That's the stuff we're talking about. This is a municipality thing, because it seems like in different cities they've got a hook of this.
Yeah,
they've got this down, and then other places they're just behind.
Yes. So more progressive cities there are, right? But the interesting thing is you may go across the borderline from one city to another city, have a different set of bylaws, different set of restrictions. And we talked about this. I know in different places in Canada, we've talked about this for years. Let's drop legislation that basically makes the building codes in each of these cities consistent. Never happens. And if it does happen, quite frankly, it takes too long to enact. And when it gets enacted, it is subject to definition of the building inspectors. So if you get going, you start building something, the building inspector says, well, this is my definition, and this is my definition. So then you have case precedent, let's call it, amongst people.
Okay.
So that's why it takes so long.
Well, and it seems like in Atlantic Canada, one of the big things that they're dealing with is a large growth of population. So that could be another reason why this construction feels like it's behind. There's not enough homes for the people that are growing there rapidly, right?
Yeah, rental homes for sure, right? Because these aren't people who, the people that came to Canada recently and since COVID, for the most part, are just starting off as new Canadians. They're not in the position to buy new homes. So this would be the building of rental homes or renovations to create rental homes. Listen, most of the Atlantic Canada and most of the eastern provinces had enough homes for the existing population. They were seeing so many people pass away every year. They're seeing natural succession of homes, but they didn't have an overabundance of homes. So now to get them to actually expedite home building is very tough. On top of that, quite frankly, you have the permitting issue. You also have the skills issues. So
that's actually what I was just about to ask you, because I keep seeing that. I was digging through this and I'm like, well, why is this the biggest problem in Atlantic Canada right now? Well, skilled trades seems to be a crisis.
Oh, it is a crisis. It's a crisis everywhere. Atlantic Canada also, right now, how many people do you know are being plumbers, electricians? You have very few carpenters kicking around now.
Outside of the veteran guys that I've known for years, I don't see any new youth movement in that trade.
Now, the thing in Atlantic Canada we find, from time to time, as the West Coast gets busy, people migrate out of Atlantic Canada and they head to the West Coast. So as the oil patch starts to boom, and you see expansion in the West Coast, dollars and salaries and wages get better. People move from east to west, always keeping their residence in the east, but knowing that they're going to go work in camps and oil camps and labor camps outside of the main cities. So they rent a room, they rent a place in the major cities. They go up to spend 2 weeks on working, and then they come back. So you see a lot of that happening, quite frankly. Trades get sparse, and unfortunately, that's what you see time and time again.
So we've touched on the housing crisis. We've touched on the lack of skilled trade workers. Now let's talk about, why are construction costs so high? And this is for anybody, like, this is because there's a lot of people that don't know. And we talk about it a lot on our national channel, but a lot of this has to do with a bit of tariffs, but some other things are just, this is just what we've done to ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. We, my belief, this is sort of Paul's opinion on this one. We came out of COVID. We had saw a rapid increase in basically resources for construction.
Yeah.
Lumber, steel, whatever it is, drywall. We saw a massive increase in
aluminum was through the roof during COVID.
Through the cost, through the roof. So we saw it never came back.
No, it didn't.
So, and now, tariffs came on. So we decided what we were going to do is we were going to subsidize those industries to keep them alive. So we created sort of subsidies and funding and loans. I think that might have been misdirected. I think if what we would have done, if we would encourage people to reduce their pricing so we could enhance building. So what we did is we actually said, okay, we guys can retool your factories. You can keep your labor force, but we're going to give you some money to try to figure things out over the next 6 months. We might have been better. I definitely would have been better if we would have actually said to them, hey, if you guys cut your costs, we're going to actually have a transition period where you can actually increase your volume to keep your sales consistent. And that was the leap that we didn't allow people to do.
So it looked like you're taking a little bit of a hit, but you're not really at all, because once this all balances out over a year or two, you're actually ahead of where you were before that.
If you can simulate house building or home building or commercial building or whatever it is, and you can get it going again, quite frankly, again, at a lower cost, so a lower price that you're selling to those people that are building those things, quite frankly, your revenues are the same. You're just doing more volume. And so that's what we did transition out to. So what we did coming out of COVID, we kind of stuck those vendors, the construction supply companies that were stuck, increasing their costs during COVID because the cost of doing business, getting supplies, moving supplies, logistics, everything went up. So they passed it on to the industry. Came out of COVID, they left it there. And quite frankly, their volume went down. So what happened is, coming out of COVID, you saw volume start to decrease. We went like this, right? Naturally sloping decrease. As it sloped, they're like, well, I can't cut my cost or my price now, because if I cut my price with a lower volume, I'm out of business. So I got to keep that price up. So we weren't able to offload the price or decrease the price because, quite frankly, their volume went down. So we then went, after things got slower, we then started to subsidize them to keep them alive. So here's some money to stay alive.
Yep.
Okay, that doesn't help. That's like a road to nowhere.
It's a Band-Aid.
It's a Band-Aid that doesn't go anywhere. So transitioning people to a more volume-based model would have been the way to go in my mind. We didn't do that for the most part. We just stayed where we are now. And therefore, until we address the issue of these crazy costs we have for home building, think about it. When we got into COVID, people were talking about building homes for, 150, 200, 250 a square foot. We got into COVID, and then people started talking about 200, 300, 400, up to $500 a square foot.
Yeah.
Insane pricing.
Yeah.
Right. We got to get back to where we're building things for 150 and $200 a square foot, because that is the only market that works if we're going to keep real estate values the same. If real estate values stay the same throughout Canada, there's no way, unless we start to get those costs down for land, we need to get materials down. And that's the only thing that saves the industry right now. We can sugarcoat that. We can say what we want. That's what we need to do.
So that's how we fix it.
That's how we fix it. We need to increase the volume, right, to meet the demand, which you said, I think you're right. There's demand for people.
There is.
Yeah, there's demand for rentals. There's demand for homes. We just need to get the costs in line with that demand so we can start building stuff.
Well, fellow patriots, do you see why I brought Paul on? Because he's the man with the answers. Stay tuned for more content. We will be talking about every one of your cities. If you don't find your city yet, stay tuned, because it's definitely going to show up on the list. This is tplmedia.ca/local. We'll see you soon, patriots.